any of the rest of us. So he trailed around after us all over our farm, and I remember him falling into the creek once when he was about 3 years old. And
you saved me, didn't you?
yeah, middle of winter. Pulled him out by his legs, and of course he was absolutely soaked with, absolutely soaked to the skin, and it was the middle of winter. So everyone, I think, how many of us were there? We were about
5.
4 or 5 of us there, and we all had to take off an item of clothing and donate it to John.
I sacrificed my party.
Oh, that was your cardi.
It was my party.
And then we took all the wet clothes up to the house and just sort of shoved them underneath the washing. So Mum never ever knew that John had even lost that ice
Mum probably knew, eh?
He knew about it.
So that's my contribution. But here's John now.
Thanks, Maureen. Thanks for fishing me out of it.
Saving your life.
You're still wearing girls' undies, John. You're still wearing girls' undies.
No. Last year I gave it away.
I think we forgot about the undies actually. I think yes.
That was me.
Curious?
But I have memories of John. I remember coming home from school when Mum, after Mum had him, and walking into our living room, and here was John in a bassinet, and walking in and seeing this beautiful little baby boy. And I remember looking out to him, and Mum had...
Wait.
But Mum had this, it was the 1950s, and Mum had this lovely old 60s. Had this lovely old wicker pram, and I remember being stationed outside to look after him, keep an eye on him, because in those days you put the baby outside and he would sleep in the sun. And I remember being stationed beside him and having to look after him. And he was a delightful, he was just a lovely little baby brother.
Well, my earliest memories of John was when Pete and I, her twins, we were 4 and John was after us. And we were intrigued by Mum bringing home this new little baby. And of course we wanted to play. And of course John was actually in the bassinet in Mum and Dad's room. And the bassinet unfortunately was a bit small for John. And it was tied up with a bit of baling twine. After we took the end out of it. But what I remember most about that was Pete and I, the door got shut, you see, and we couldn't see this little baby anymore. So I remember Pete and I down on the carpet trying to look under the door. Yeah, so absolutely right that dear old John got dragged around with all the rest of us. He was educated very well at a very young age. The youngest of 7. Never wanted for anything, I don't think.
Really? No.
He was
If I did, it was just ignored anyway.
brought up by Mum and Dad. He was brought up by the rest of us.
Teased terribly by his older brothers, and look at him, he's carried on, he's managed to
Absolutely.
survive.
Terrible stories about apricots and things that we won't go into. No, we won't go there. We won't go there.
We won't go
But all in all, it was a pretty good life.
Look like the Chisdale cheese, eh?
Absolutely. That too.
Who stole the Chisdale cheese?
We will never know. But we do have to tell you that
Oh no.
at my parents' house we had this, in the hallway there was this big cupboard that was the larder. And I remember one of our dear uncles being absolutely mortified that Mum and Dad had a bolt and pin on this larder because their kids had such voracious appetites.
A box of apples or something like that could just absolutely vanish in the blink of an eye.
Day to day it was like snow on the desert.
That's right. Yes.
But we suspect that our brothers were involved in
Oh, no.
unscrewing
Yeah, it was not. It was
But I remember the story too of the larder, and had the big bolt on it, and the screwdriver came out and...
Yes.
put the screws and the harder it was rated.
The rest of the brothers benefited.
Yes.
John was totally innocent.
Absolutely. Oh, that's totally innocent.
Lost two.
Wave your arms around, Catherine.
No.
Didn't do me any harm.
But you were the nicest little brother anyone
You
could
what?
ever have.
Absolutely, I quite
Exactly.
agree.
Aww. Little idiot.
Hey,
He was a little sweetie. He was. He was lovely.
Most of the time.
most of the time.
When he grew up, well, that's another story.
Anyway, you're quite right. I was raised by my elder brother and sisters, which was quite an experience, really, in a lot of ways. But, Mum and Dad, by the time I came along, I think they'd sort of had enough of kids. You kids take care of them, look after them. Don't let anything happen to them.
Yes.
Ah, what about, yes, you were meant to have a nap with Mum when he was a little preschooler, but the rest of us kids, this would be at the weekend or in the holidays, the rest of us kids would be out to one farm and that, and John had perfected, Mum would put him in the bed with her to have his afternoon nap, and he was just like one of those cats. He would sort of go like, as soon as he thought Nana was asleep, Mum was asleep, he would slither out and come to the rest of us.
But we were absolutely responsible for John, and we knew that we would have to face
Oh,
money
yeah,
to
yeah.
if anything happened.
Yeah, well that's why she never knew about the
No.
dip in the creek.
And he perfected certain techniques involving stockings.
Tipping explosive.
We used to tie, when we were feeding the calves, we used to tear Mummy's stockings and tie John to the feet. Look at our pet calves, and we chose a pet calf for John so that he could have a friend, and then he used to go to sleep on her.
Didn't feature at all.
No.
Feature at all.
So you're very well cared for.
I was lucky.
Yeah.
I was very lucky, actually.
So I think that's about most of the confession.
Yeah,
The others,
Right.
Well, the others,
Well,
we'll draw a blanket over some of the
Yes.
others.
So have you got anything to say for
Oh,
yourself?
well, I'd just like to say thanks to everyone for coming, first of all. It's good to see everyone here. And I'd just like to mention Anna. She's come all the way from Canada.
Hey!
Yeah,
Also a friend of Brian and Catherine Bells, who live just across the road. A man who's come all the way from Finland.
Whoa!
You didn't really have to come all that way. And no, I'd just like to say thanks to everyone. And yeah, it's been an interesting 50 years. I can't believe I got here. I didn't think I'd make it at times. Yeah. So yeah, two great kids. So yeah, so they keep me young, youngish. Quite a few grey hairs as well, and it's alright.
Well,
Your brothers and sisters are way older than you.
Yeah, I know.
yes, it's true.
So, no, I'd just like to thank everyone for showing up, and I hope we had a good time. Thanks everyone for your presents. Thank you very much. People that bought presents. You didn't have to, but I'll still accept them.
And I would like to thank Sue.
Well done. So, yes. And I'll be throwing score from the 50th, so.
Cheers!